Hello and welcome to another episode of the Career Reset podcast. So today I have for you another update on how my business has been doing in Q2 because we are halfway through the year, which is crazy. And if you haven't yet listened to the last episode, which is a recording of an actual coaching session with one of my clients, I highly recommend you check it out. That is something I've had in mind for such a long time, but it's not so easy to find someone who would be confident enough to be open in public. And I'm not sharing any details about the client, like the name or anything, but it's a video and it's still, I know it from myself when I have been coached like on record, that the point of coaching is that you're talking through your deepest fears and insecurities. And often the problem is that people feel like they're the only ones experiencing this. But for me, I hear the same things. Everybody's struggling with the same fears and doubts and insecurities. So I have that overview and I can hold space for it. But I understand that for the clients, it can be challenging. So I'm super glad that this particular client agreed that I can record the session and share it with all of you. And it's actually related to business, even though we initially started as the process as career coaching, it quite quickly became clear that we would actually be focusing on business coaching, which is something I do as well. And that's why I'm referencing it in this episode, because I can imagine that people who are listening to this update are considering maybe starting their own business. And the session that I published in my last episode can be super valuable, because you can reflect on what we go through with the client and take it as if I was coaching you, and you can think, how does it apply to your specific situation, especially if you're someone who's at the very early stages and you just have some idea that you would like to act on in the near or far future, that can give you some practical steps and tools how you could think in more practical terms how your business could work. So that's my number one recommendation, to listen to the last episode if you haven't yet. And then the second thing I want to share is that during the summer, during the month of July, I'll be running a special series here on the podcast that I decided to call Career Detox. And as I'm already trying to plan a bit more long-term what I'm going to do in the second half of this year, for me, for my type of business, August is a very busy month because here in Finland, many people are coming back from vacations. They are not so excited to go back to work. And usually that is the time when they really decide it's time to do something about their situation. And they book a call with me. And there is this idea also, like August is the month where school starts here, and there is this overall like sense of a fresh start and everything starts new and people are going back to work and getting back to their routine. And I love these kinds of fresh starts. The start of school is my favorite season of the year because there is just this kind of potential, and we are all kind of burned out from the summer because we try to enjoy every last minute of the sunny days, and we are silently or not so silently very excited that the weather is a bit colder and we can be inside again. But the point being that I really would like to encourage a lot of people to take this as the opportunity, as the fresh start. And I know very well that it's really hard to do a fresh start when there is some kind of past baggage weighing you down that you haven't yet processed. And I think in the past 12 months, the overwhelming theme I've been going over in my sessions is unprocessed past and negative experiences related to our careers. So that can look like joining a company, having some expectations how the job and how the company will turn out, and then everything turning out very differently than was promised and than what we expected, and that can leave some scars on our expectations of our career future and of other companies. It can turn people quite cynical about what the whole business world is about. This has definitely been my experience, so I can relate to it very well. But that's why I thought that the summer is maybe not the time where I would encourage some heavy, deep focus on thinking about your next career steps, but it can be a wonderful time to have that space and to let go of some things and to prepare your mind for that fresh start. So that's why I decided to run this Career Detox series. So it will be 4 episodes much shorter than my usual episodes, just like a quick insight or a quick idea which area of your career you could detox, you could let go a little bit. The idea is that by the end of July, you feel much lighter about what you have gone through and where you are now, and you will have much more headspace to think about the future because you will have processed the past. So that's what's coming up, and I would really like to encourage you to actually subscribe to this podcast so you don't miss out on these Career Detox episodes. They will be coming out every Wednesday at 10 a.m. Finnish time. And if that's the only thing you do for your career this summer, that you will just listen to those episodes, maybe on a walk or while chilling on the beach, you will feel mentally much better and much more ready for what's to come for the rest of the year. So whether you are watching this on YouTube or listening in some podcast app, just make sure you subscribe and you get access to these episodes. So that's a little bit of what you can expect. And I'm so really excited. I'm really excited about this idea. I think it's such a good idea, and I'm really excited about recording these bite-sized episodes that will have, I know, a lot of impact on a lot of professionals out there. And now let's then dive into what my Q2 has been like. So I was taking some notes, thinking what actually happened, because I am so deep into the day-to-day that it's hard for me to remember what was last week, what was a month ago, let alone 3 months ago. But if I would have to put some like a theme to the past 3 months in my business, and maybe this year in general, I think my business has been kind of maturing, adulting. I think every business goes through aging stages. So at the start, I would compare myself and many other people who I know who are entrepreneurs to being a bit like a child, that there is a lot of very unrealistic expectations how it's gonna go. There is a lot of just doing whatever you feel like at the moment, being a lot of like, no, I don't want to market my business, I don't want to sell, I don't feel like it, I want to do this instead, enjoying the freedom. Like for me, when I started being an entrepreneur, it also meant that I left my full-time job, so suddenly I had all this time that I could do whatever I wanted with it, and at the same time I was very far from being fully booked with clients. Most of the time I didn't have any clients, so I really had a lot of free time, and I did not always spend this time responsibly, and I just wanted to have fun. And then that slowly turned into a bit of a teenage phase when, because of how I approached my business at the beginning, there wasn't really anything happening, and my unrealistic expectations, surprise, surprise, were not being met. So then I got into this teenage mode of, this sucks, I'm putting so much work in and it's not getting me anything, and I'm tired of this, and just being very negative, being very close to quitting, thinking there is something wrong with the world, that why hasn't it worked out the way I imagined it would work out. There was also a big piece that I really wasn't setting good boundaries. I was just doing everything and anything. I was saying yes to absolutely every opportunity that came my way, and in 80% of cases that was the right decision, but then in 20% cases I just invested time into something that maybe the other person benefited from, but I got absolutely nothing out of it. And then I think this year especially, I became a bit of an adult, that my expectations are much more realistic. I have much better work ethic. I'm overall much calmer. It's not this emotional roller coaster of extreme high when it's going well and extreme lows most of the time when it's not going well. And that also, it's not just my approach, but it also shows in the business that this past 6 months, it has been the most stable when it comes to my one-on-one clients. I have had pretty consistent stream of new clients. The funny thing is that I still am really bad at predicting what will be the thing that will attract new clients to me. I sometimes, I think not even very often, post more direct sales post where I actively invite people to book an intro session with me, and most commonly, that type of post results in 0 people contacting me. I think that's why I don't post these posts very often, because I always do it once in a while, then it doesn't result in anything, and I get annoyed, And so then I stopped doing it for a while, and then I think, oh yeah, I haven't posted some direct invitation in a while where I would tell people to book an intro session with me. Then I do it, nobody acts on it, and I can't maybe pinpoint exactly why that is the case, but then I post something that is completely unrelated to me selling any kind of service or telling people what I do and encourage them to work with me. But that post, for some reason, gets 5 or 10 people contacting me for an intro session. But because I do so much to market my business, I post 5 times a week on LinkedIn, I do these podcasts, I send out a newsletter, I host webinars. Even though I can't pinpoint the one thing that would actually work, always one of all these things works, and it gets me a good stream of clients. And then over the years, I've also gotten much better at sales and running these intro sessions. So my conversion rate has gone pretty high, that now I think I'm able to close like 80% of the people who are potentially interested in working with me. And actually, in most cases, when it doesn't work out, it's even my decision, because integrity is really important for me. And when I have an intro session with someone where I genuinely don't think it would be a good idea to work together, because I just don't feel qualified enough to help that specific person with whatever they are going through, I either point them to a different direction, a different person, or just like share honestly that I might not be the right person for them. So when it comes to one-on-one coaching, that has been going pretty well. One thing I am maybe kind of struggling with is that because I'm getting better, obviously, at the way I help people finding jobs, many of my clients succeed really, really fast. So if they go for my shortest package of 3 sessions, and it hasn't been uncommon this year that they find a job after the first session, and then I am a bit clueless what to do with them, because I think of it that they pay for the outcome, and the sessions are just the tool how we get there. So if they get the outcome sooner, well, like great for them. So even though what I would actually like to do is to run longer collaboration with clients and going into more in-depth topics about their goals and their career identity and their obstacles. But what I am somehow achieving is getting people the results really, really fast, and I'm not sure how to approach that with my service offerings. But I have also mentioned several times on this podcast in different episodes that I would like to move away from focusing so heavily on job search in my coaching, because that has been the topic that has defined my entrepreneurship. It has a lot to do with the fact that before I started my business, I was a recruiter. So I know a lot of things that are extremely valuable to people who are focusing on a job search. But after doing this for over 3 years, every day focus on CVs and LinkedIn profiles, every day I feel more and more that I've given that all and that I would be ready for something else. And I've tried to transition a little bit into different areas of coaching, but it's somehow been very hard that I always slip back to talking about job search on my LinkedIn. And it's just a topic I know so well. It's very easy to talk about. It's very easy also to explain the outcome that people get by working with me. Of course, I cannot guarantee everybody that they will be able to find a job. Like if I could, I would charge 10 times what I charge now. But I know for sure that they will be in a much better position to succeed faster than if they were on their own. But when it comes to different areas of career coaching that is not necessarily focused on job search, I find it hard to communicate what the value and what the, no, not the value, but what the actual outcome would be. Because in the end, it's what we all want, like feel more confident, be more in control, have a clear plan where you're heading with your career, have the tools to navigate difficult situation. But it's somehow very difficult to package that into something that is worth for other people to invest in. But this year, I decided to take a really big step to make this transition real. And it also, a few times this year, when I had some clients who are in more senior positions, there were instances where I felt like I've hit a bit of a ceiling of my own coaching skills. So I did a coaching certification 5 years ago, a bit over 5 years ago, which was focused on people who have zero experience with coaching. They have never done it. They maybe aren't even 100% sure what it actually is. It was for real newbies, and it wasn't focused on any specific niche. It was just a general coaching certification. And there we learned some specific tools and frameworks that I used to use at the very early stages of my coaching business. I don't use them so actively now because at some point it starts to feel a bit forced. And I have found that the clients who come to me now, they are not looking for me guiding them through some predefined process. They want highly personalized experience where every session is tailored to exactly what they need in that specific moment. And then the thing with coaching is that the more you do it, the better you get at it. So because right now I don't keep any track of how many sessions, but I would say 200 sessions at the very least I have done. And with every session I complete, I become more valuable, more skilled, better able to navigate different situations. And still, I felt like this year I started getting into coaching people on very specific situations. And I felt like that when it comes to my skill set, it would maybe be time for an upgrade. So I decided to make the biggest investment in my career and sign up for an executive coaching training that is run by one British business school that has offices here in Finland as well. And this particular course is targeted at people who are in the Nordics. And it costs, I think, the basic price is 6,900 euros. And because I signed up early, I get 10% discount. So it's a bit over 6,000 euros, which is a ridiculous amount of money. And I've had my eyes on this particular course for since I started. I actually once worked with a client and I helped her get a job in this particular school. And that was the first time I even heard about it. And I remember back then, I just checked their website and I saw this particular course. I think back then it was probably even cheaper, but I still thought oh my God, that amount of money is ridiculous. I never would pay something like that. It cannot be worth it. Funnily enough, I paid 10,000 euros, maybe a bit more, for my master's degree, which in terms of practical applicability to my field or life is very minimal. I don't regret doing the master's degree, but it just wasn't really something that would professionally pay off in some concrete terms. But then something that is cheaper and I can quite clearly pinpoint how is relevant to the career path I want to be on for the rest of my life. I have had much bigger troubles justifying it to myself. And this certification is not for people necessarily who want to be full-time coaches, who want to have their own business. I think it's almost mainly for people who are in some kind of leadership position, in high level position in their companies, and they want to get better at the coaching skill set and use it in their job. So I also had to justify it a little bit to myself that I belong with these people, and there was some kind of application process, they had to accept me. I don't know how selective it is. I honestly wouldn't think it's very selective, that if you are willing to pay this amount of money and you fulfill some basic criteria, they would be happy to have you. But really by making this investment, using the money that my business has made, and instead of, I could go on a very nice vacation with this amount of money, but instead I'm taking it and putting it into my further education, even though I have no guarantee that it's gonna pay off and that the education in and of itself will put me on some new direction in my career. That is my responsibility to use it and get the most out of it, to make sure I make this investment pay off. And I'm not in a position where spending this money, I have it on my account, and it will not put me or my family and our livelihood and the roof over our head at risk. Obviously, it's a stretch. It's a money that I can't use somewhere else, but it's really, really empowering to be able to make this investment. And I can imagine most of the people who will be doing this course, their company will pay for them. And I mean, good for them. Like that's really cool. But I will be paying it out of my own pocket. I can also imagine I will be one of the youngest, so it will be very interesting experience. I will definitely be sharing a lot about it on my LinkedIn, and also in it actually will just start at the end of the Q3, but definitely in my update on Q4, I will share more about it, how it's been. There is some component of live sessions and online sessions. And if any of you thinking about becoming a coach and starting a coaching business, you can also send me a message and I can tell you what exactly this program is, but I don't want to share the details here because it's probably not relevant to most people. But the point is that I think there is this belief that nowadays if you have a laptop and an internet connection and 2 brain cells, you can just make money very easily. You can become an entrepreneur and start making big money and take the money home and buy houses and vacations and lots of other things. And that's not historically how businesses worked. Like, businesses require investments. And in my field, the investments don't maybe seem so obvious. The investment in my business doesn't look like building a factory and buying new machines and training my employees or paying for some intellectual property. The investment in my case are into the skill set either of me running the business, like improving my business skills, my marketing and selling. That's what I've been doing quite heavily the first half of this month. But I feel the need to expand my professional skills, like the value that I provide to my clients. And that's also, as I was sharing at the beginning, about at the start of the business, that I was a bit of a child entrepreneur, and I thought that like all the money I make, I get to buy something fun with it, because that's what you're supposed to do as an entrepreneur. You make money that you then enjoy, but then that only gets you so far. You are not developing the business further. And since this year I started investing much more, like genuinely investing, I have immediately seen the return. So I don't think of it that I need to pay for some fancy certifications and pieces of paper that in the end my clients, like my particular niche, they don't really care about that much. But it's about the skill set and the network and the identity that I built through participating in this kind of course and making this investment. So I just want to share it here, that as a entrepreneur, as a business owner, like, you get to make nice money sometimes. But in order to stay relevant and stay in integrity with the value you provide, in my opinion, it does require significant investments. And even though at some point it feels uncomfortable to spending this money, on the other hand, it feels extremely rewarding to like have a business that generated this money and being able to put it towards something that I'm really excited to do. And staying on the finances a little bit, I also this quarter, maybe I even mentioned it in the last update, but now I can give a bit more complete story. So I also run the first proper launch of my online course, which is funny because I made the online course over 2 years ago. But this is exactly the area where I did not invest in my skill set, and I thought that that's something I will be able to figure out with my common sense. And I was able to figure out the aspect of actually putting the course together. I think that's where common sense will get you there, common sense and a lot of discipline and a lot of time. But then when it comes to how to promote the course, I didn't really have any skill set related to that. So my way of selling it was very amateur, and it showed. And that's why this year I hired one marketing coach who specifically helped me to promote and sell this like digital product. And the core of what she taught me is that I shouldn't be selling it all the time, but I should have specific time of the year or several times of the year when I actively promote this course and explain the benefits of it and put it into some kind of context. So a very common way to do this is to either host a webinar about a topic that is related to the course, and then at the end of the webinar invite people to join the course, and then a follow up from that, so that the people who are on the fence, who are considering getting the course, have all the information and they can make the right decision whether to join it or not. And because I did this for the very first time, like I've run webinars before, I sent emails and newsletters. I posted about my services before, but it has never been in this highly concentrated form. And it was a very tough experience in terms of the workload. As you know, I'm a one-person company, so I do absolutely everything myself. So when it comes to hosting a webinar, I need to come up with the topic, prepare the content, I need to create a sign-up page, I need to connect it with like the whole email backend that people who sign up get the emails for it. I need to promote it. I need to run the webinar. And in a company, you would have like a team of people doing all this. And I have to do this all by myself. And on top of that, I still have my one-on-one clients. I still have marketing my other services. I still need to do my accounting. And so this is almost like an extra work to already a very busy schedule. And there are just so many little things you need to remember with the tech setup and keeping the overall flow of all these activities. So it was very tough. I had to work overtime a lot. I have to work many weekends. And as is common in business, there was nothing guaranteed at the end. And in the end, it was successful in the sense of that I have proven that the process worked. I got a lot of people for the webinar. I made some sales from the course. But as with every single thing I've done in my business, my expectations of how much sales I would make from that were not realistic, which in a way was to be expected because, as I mentioned, this was the first time I did this whole process. And typically you need to do it like 2, 3, 5 times to really get good at it, and then it starts to like exponentially grow. The benefit is, of course, that since it's an online course, it's like there, once I get the sale, I don't need to do anything. It's different from my one-on-one clients who I run an intro session with, and then they agree they want to work with me, and I send them an invoice, and then the work starts. Then I need to kind of earn the money. But with this online course, once the launch period was over, like I made the sales that I made, and this was money that I just like took with me and didn't have to do anything. So that was actually very nice to have that sum just end up in my bank account. But if I count all the hours and all the effort that went into it, probably the hourly wage would not be something I would be very happy with. And that's why I'm not going to make myself feel miserable. Because being able to recover from disappointment and things not going the way I expected, I think it's like the most essential skills in entrepreneurship. Like really being able to sit with the disappointment of pouring a lot of time and energy into something and that then not resulting in what I would have wanted, and not like having a very clear answer why it didn't work, just having some theories. And the hardest part then coming out of the other side and knowing I will have to do that whole process again, and I will have to take a very hard look at what I like did in the past, coming up with these theories why it didn't work, try to address them and do it again. That is really tough. That is the highest level of mindset you can reach. And the good thing is that I have been pretty busy with my one-on-one clients and with my business in general. So I didn't even have that much time and energy to wallow in the fact that it didn't go the way I expected. And even though right after that launch, I thought that, oh my God, this was horrible. I'm never doing that again. Now it's a bit like with childbirth, that people often say after the first one that they're never doing that again, but then somehow the brain forgets. Even though my own birth was pretty long and pretty tough. I actually, even right after it, I was like, well, that was really tough, but I survived. The result is a healthy baby. I think I could survive this again. And that was my same approach with this launch, that I said, okay, that didn't go to plan, but also like this was my first time doing it. Do I realistically expect that I would be a natural at this? Well, I surely hoped I would, but the fact that it didn't turn out to be the case, I am in the end quite okay. And I think this is really valuable for me to share here, because never in my professional life I feel like there has been such a big notion of everybody should have a business. It's so easy nowadays with all the AI vibe coding that everybody can create a website and everybody can create an app and start selling subscriptions. Like, it's so easy to have a business, to have a side hustle, to make a ton of money. Yes, it is easy to make the product, to make the website, to make the app, whatever. But what I think many people aren't realizing is that the selling and marketing and the promotion remains just as tough, if not tougher. It takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of energy, and there really is no such thing as super easy side hustle and some quick and easy way to make money. Which is not to say that I am discouraging people from becoming entrepreneurs, like far from it. The point of me recording this type of episodes is to encourage people, but I want to encourage by being very realistic. So if you think that all it would take to start a business is to create some product or service and it will just sell itself, I want you to know that you need to consider it will require massive effort to get people to actually be interested in your product or service, to even want to listen to you, to read your marketing, and then take out their credit card and pay you. And if we are talking about making some money that actually counts and not making like 10 euros a month, then that's something you just have to be ready to do. And like for me with this podcast, even though it's a free podcast, that I'm not getting any money in particular from doing this, and people can listen to it for free and get super valuable advice, I would have never expected how much I need to promote even a free podcast so that people actually listen to it. And I'm still learning how to do it, and I'm still accepting the amount of effort it takes. Because again, as with everything, I expected that, okay, I start a podcast, obviously it won't be an instant hit. I will need to put in some number of episodes so that people see that this is actually happening, that there are new episodes coming regularly. But I maybe thought it would take like 5 to 10 episodes and then people would just somehow find the podcast and I can just mention it every now and then on my LinkedIn. Well, I was very wrong. I think that only now, like over 30 episodes in, I am starting to see some kind of a clear pattern of people following this podcast and watching and listening to these episodes and reacting and sending me feedback. So just imagine if it is this hard to promote free stuff, how hard it is to promote paid stuff. It's like very, very hard. But I'm just happy that at this point in my business, I know it. I expected that everything I want to do will require a lot of effort and there is a payout on the other side, but it's definitely not like some easy money ending in my pocket. And going into it with this expectation makes the entire experience much more enjoyable because I'm not constantly annoyed and frustrated, as I mentioned, like being the entrepreneur teenager who is annoyed why things don't work out for me and why they seem to work out for everyone else. I know that it's a really hard work and I am capable of doing really hard work just like the other people. And if I keep doing it and if I keep putting myself under the right amount of pressure to like always keep going to the next level, I know I will stay in business indefinitely. And that's my main goal. While I'm not going to be saying that, no, I don't want to be a millionaire. Right now, the priority for me is that I can keep doing this for as long as I want to, especially while having a small child, potentially at some point small children. I want to be flexible. I want to have the freedom. I want to get a full-time salary for not full-time hours. I want to be able to support myself, to support my family, do something that matters. I don't want to drop my kid off to daycare and go to a job that I think is completely pointless. That's not how I want to spend my life. So right now, to keep going is a priority, and whether there is some bigger payout in the future when I potentially will have more energy, when I will not have small children and I will be able to give more and I will want to give more to this business, then the payout can be much bigger. But right now I am in the realistic phase of that if this business can support the life I have right now, I will be the happiest and I will definitely think it's worth the effort and the discomfort and the negative emotions that are sometimes part of it. And speaking of negative emotion, the last topic I want to touch on in this episode is an interesting development I've been seeing on my LinkedIn lately. So for some reason, you know how people often say that there is something wrong with the algorithm, that their posts suddenly get so few impressions and so few comments. And I was in that situation maybe in like May or something, but then in June, for some reason, the algorithm decided to promote my posts much more heavily. And although I'm not a big believer in let's blame it on the algorithm, it's also hard to pinpoint for me what exactly has changed, because I have been posting this year at least 5 times a week. I post same days, same time of the day. I think my posts are pretty similar in terms of content, in terms of theme. I always post a text post and an image, but for some reason my posts have been doing really well. And what I want to first of all highlight is that yes, I've gotten maybe the best impressions and engagements I've ever had. It had no real impact on my business, on my revenue. I've been having pretty much the same number of clients reaching out to me, pretty much the same success in the closing rate. Like, it can be so easy to look at the numbers and make it mean so much, but I'm telling you that the real impact on my real business is zero. If anything, it's more annoying than gratifying, because I get so many comments that I even can't reply to, which makes me feel bad. But at the end of the day, I need to do some prioritization. Of course, my clients, their needs are a priority. Right now, a lot of my clients are at final stages of their interview processes. We are in a lot of day-to-day contact about what's going on, what the company is offering, what they should offer back, how about the last stages of interview, how to prepare for that, and so on. Then I have my sessions, then I have my marketing, then I have all my other things. And like, kind of arguing with people in the comments, or even acknowledging a very nice comment, I would love to be able to do it, but then it would go at the expense of like me spending time with my kid or on my hobbies or sleep, for example, and I really don't want to let that happen. So although it's been to some extent really nice, I've had some very nice conversations in the comments, it is just another layer of pressure of things I should be doing, but it's the things that I know are not gonna really pay off. But what I want to talk here specifically about are negative comments, because that's something I talk about with my clients always when we talk about being active on LinkedIn, that often the obstacle that's preventing people from actually doing that is the fear of some kind of backlash, negative comments, people challenging them. I only really have had to deal with that few times in the past with a few posts that went a bit viral, and now it's become a bit more like a daily occurrence. But initially your main problem is that nobody is really reacting and commenting, and handling the silence can be much harder than handling the negativity. But now I can finally speak on this experience of getting negative comments. And I think there are like 3 categories of these comments. So category number 1 is just people who are very frustrated. I talk a lot about job search, which can be explosive topics, like people who have been unemployed for a very long time. They don't want to be unemployed. They feel like they're doing everything and it's not working out. And then when they see a post from me, that can sometimes trigger them, and they just like spit out some comment into my comment section. So if it's something like that, like if it's just plain negativity, somebody's life frustration being poured at me, I delete that comment, because okay, yeah, free speech, fair enough, but I really don't want to normalize this way of communication that I am annoyed with something that's going on with my life, so I will throw it on someone who hasn't really caused this issue and who is providing free advice on LinkedIn. My posts are never something like, hey, you lazy job seekers, here is why you haven't succeeded yet. My posts are very proactive, helpful. I share advice I know that works, and if still that triggers someone, then I am sorry, but I don't want that your frustration ruins my day and frankly ruins anyone else's day. So that's category number 1, and I really don't have any problem admitting it or doing it. I've also blocked some people who just enjoyed putting this type of comments on my post. So I don't think it really adds any value to anyone, just like spitting hate online. And I think that doesn't just belong to the internet, and I have the power to delete comments under my own posts, and I do that where I see it necessary. And the second type of negative comment, I think I would categorize it as your advice doesn't apply to me, or my situation is different than what you are describing. And there, I mean, I leave that comment there, like, fair enough. But at the same time, it's a LinkedIn post, okay? There is only so much depth and context I can give in a LinkedIn post. I would think it's obvious that I cannot talk to every single person, every single situation, every single nuance there is. I think it would be much more helpful if we as individuals went through our social media and then, okay, this is relevant advice, I will read it and maybe comment something. Or, okay, this advice doesn't apply to me because of this and that, so I will move on with my day. But what I often get are some comments like, the advice you share doesn't apply in my country or in my industry. Or I have tried this advice and it didn't work for me. And I really kind of struggle what to say to that, because I don't know if people want me to, with every LinkedIn post related to job search, that I put like, this advice applies to the following countries. And then I take a list of all, I don't know, 195 countries that there are in the world. And I put applies in the following, doesn't apply in the following. Like, it's ridiculous. Or, okay, you tried the advice, it didn't work. I don't know, sorry to hear. Or I'm laughing, but sometimes it really gets very tiring, especially when the comment is framed as in, I don't think this is the advice that is applicable to me, therefore you're stupid, like that I am stupid. And that is also not okay. I really don't let anyone tell negative things about me, and I always think, would I let my clients go through with this and not say anything? And I think no, and then I need to lead the way and walk the talk and just make it clear that I'm not gonna be accepting every constructive criticism when it's just a bit of frustration. I'm gonna defend myself, I'm gonna defend my opinions, my experience, my advice that is based on helping hundreds of job seekers, and you can tell me you have done that and it hasn't worked for you. Like, I'm not gonna argue with that, but that doesn't change the fact that what I share in most cases is very, very effective and deserves to be on the internet. So I think this is a bit like a different approach that many people, like not many people even react to negative comments. They just leave them there, or they delete them, or they try to like acknowledge the other person. And I think I can read the tone pretty well. And the third category, when it's somebody who is maybe in the same industry as me and they have different experience and they politely disagree, we can have a conversation. I still, like, I don't let a single comment question my entire skill set and expertise, but I can acknowledge there are multiple ways of looking at it. That is completely fine. But I'm not letting anyone, as we say in Czech, flush me into the toilet. And a few people have said quite an interesting point, that if I was a dude and I was posting the same type of posts that I post, people wouldn't get so negative about it. And I get most of the negative comments from men as well, which there's probably some truth to it, but I'm not gonna, like, I don't want to feel like a victim, that because I'm a woman, I'm a victim to stupid male comments. I am gonna defend myself and show other women that it is okay. We have the right to defend ourselves, and we don't need to listen to really inappropriately formulated opinions of ourselves and our expertise. So that's maybe a bit unexpected ending to this episode, but I really wanted to address this. Because I think the general advice is more like, no, don't engage with negative comments, just delete them, let them be. And my approach is very different. I think we shouldn't be afraid to have uncomfortable discussions to protect ourselves and to stand our ground. That's what I've been doing. And even though it's not like I don't love it, I hate it, but I know it's necessary, and I know that me doing it will empower other people, especially other women. And that's what's making it worth. So not ending on the most positive note, but overall, like, this has been a good quarter. I really feel like things are maturing, and this is a bit of a calm before the storm, because next quarter will still be pretty much stable. But then the rest of this year will probably be very busy with the coaching course that I mentioned. And there are also some new collaborations potentially coming my way and starting in the autumn. So I think it will be a really exciting month. And my plan for the next quarter is to just kind of rest and prepare for what's to come, because I think the rest of this year will be super exciting, but it will probably be also quite challenging. And I just want to be ready for whatever comes. So I hope you enjoyed this update on how my business has been going, how my Q2 this year has been going. I will be posting another update after Q3, so stay tuned to that. And as I mentioned, make sure you subscribe so that you don't miss out on my very special Career Detox series that will be starting next week. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I will talk to you in the next one.